You know what I don't actually recommend?
What?
Taking a nap at 9 p.m.
Yeah, that sounds like a weird thing to do.
Yeah, just go to bed instead. Welcome to Bookclub no Kiseki. I am Sam Allman.
I'm David Bernard Houck.
I'm Matt Jorgensen.
And the segment of Falcom's Kiseki series that we'll be playing this week is Chapter 2 of Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky, second chapter, which is entitled something.
The Raging Land.
The Raging Land. That's it. I knew it was raging something. But before we get to all of that, what's new, Scooby-Doo?
I'm sick. I quit my job and I'm very happy about that, but then I got sick right after losing my health insurance. Luckily, it's not bad enough that I need to go see a doctor or anything. It appears to not be COVID.
That's good.
Based on the at-home test I did.
Yeah.
I spread out some goat entrails and looked at some tea leaves and stuff, and all signs point to not COVID.
That's good.
Man, the price of goat entrails this time of year, am I right?
Yeah, in
That's
Texas, it's
outrageous.
cheap.
Oh, wow. Just gonna have to start importing it from Texas then.
Also, side note, I found out why my background noise was so high. My PS3 was on. Goddamn airplane on my desk.
So, I apologize if my audio quality isn't as good as normal. I'm using a different microphone and a different computer so I can lay down in bed while we record because I am sick.
That's the dream.
Yes. I might continue to do it this way.
I think you should get like a faux bearskin rug and lay down like that. Have your laptop in the background, fake fireplace.
Nude.
I mean, that's up to you. Faux fur is itchy, so like...
Yeah.
What about you, Matt? What are you up to? How itchy is your faux fur?
Only reasonably itchy, but it's because it's currently covered in real fur. All of the animals are shedding right now. It's awful. But it makes them more comfortable, so it's fine. Other than that, I did follow through on picking up Fuga Melodies of Steel.
Hell yeah.
For the Nintendo Switch Entertainment System.
Are you?
Oh, go ahead.
Are you 50% more furry now?
I mean, I don't know, man. I watch anime. I was already pretty furry.
It's like, we all lived through Digimon Season 3, okay? We all know Renamon. All of us are at least a little bit furry.
Yeah, we were all there then. Anyway, it is not the kind of game I thought it would be.
Yeah.
So it's an RPG, but it has, that's what it says on the tin.
Mm-hmm.
But it has almost a roguelike risk-reward system from chapter. So you have diverging routes, and you can be like, all right, I want to take the safer route. You'll get less stuff, but you won't spend as much stuff. Or you can take the more challenging one. And that's when you might like, oh, well, my tank got blowed up and I got set all the way back to the beginning. Or you know, this scrappy little kid from the city, he's not clicking in the party. Into the cannon with him.
Fun.
Yep. It like wildly alternates between like a very light-hearted game that has maybe some of the darkest possible shit I've seen in video games.
Mm-hmm.
And then back again. But it's really cool. It's got... I don't want to talk too much more about it because it would be a spoiler. But...
How's the gameplay? Like, what do you do when you're doing the not story parts?
So you have 3 tiers of combat. You've got like the upper turret of the tank. You have like what would be the front mounted guns, and then you have what would be sponson weapons, which are the ones just bolted to the side. And each of the kids that you recruit along the way specializes in one of those weapons and comes with their own unique set of abilities, which are like forefront static abilities and then passive abilities. And then on top of it, you have like relationship stuff. So like you make everybody better friends and then they do better stuff. And then as you go through a fight, so it's standard Final Fantasy X-esque, flop across the screen till it's somebody's turn. And then it's a rock, paper, scissors combat situation. But as you're doing it, you can swap people in and out. So like, okay, all these enemies are weak to heavy guns. So I'll swap in 3 heavy guns. But you also have to be careful when you time it, because every 4 of it locks you out after you make a switch every 4 of your turns. So you have to be kind of cognizant of what could be coming up ahead of the time.
Okay.
So other than that, it's not, on its surface, it's a standard RPG combat system, but it is really tasking you with thinking ahead.
That's cool.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of it. I haven't got to play nearly as much as I wanted to, but I'm really looking forward to actually finishing a game this year that wasn't for a podcast.
I speaking of finishing games that aren't for a podcast, I finished Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney 2 like last week, and it was amazing, but that's also my only game that I have completed this year that is not for a podcast, which is nuts.
You also try not having life obligations.
Yeah,
it makes it a lot easier.
Yeah,
to play video games.
I'm getting close on that one. I turned in the last wedding video stuff, and the person hasn't messaged me back like, oh, you accidentally fucked up on part ABCXYZ. So I'm probably done. I still only turned that in like on Monday, so shit could change. But I am probably able to play games now, so I will probably beat Ace Attorney 3 by the end of the year. But
oh, go ahead.
Oh, you can go ahead. I was about to segue into the next thing, so you had
I've
comments.
Almost completed the Great Ace Attorney 1, and it's amazing. You gotta play Ace Attorney 3, then Ace Attorney 4, then Ace Attorney 5, then Ace Attorney 6, then Ace Attorney versus Layton, then you gotta play the Great Ace Attorney. Oh my god, I forgot Miles Edgeworth Investigations. Play those too.
Yeah.
But anyway, point is, you gotta get to where you can play the Great Ace Attorney.
Yeah, I'm very, very excited for it. I watched a video essay on YouTube about how silly little side game Professor Layton versus Phoenix Wright completely altered the course of the series forever, and it was really interesting, and all it did was make me like want to just play a shitload of Ace Attorney.
I'm just hoping to finish The World Ends With You Neo by
I need to get that.
I need to play The World Ends With You 1.
You do.
You really do.
I know.
Since you're sick and curl up laying down, you should get the first one for an R4. It is a great curl up book or curl up game because it's on the DS. But speaking of great curl up games that are on mobile platforms, I started playing Fantasian in earnest again because I was playing it a lot, and then I heard that it was only a part 1, and I didn't want to like be disappointed when I got to the to be continued. So I had petered off for a while. I hadn't actually gotten that far into it because I hadn't unlocked the main, like shtick of the game, but I have done that now, and it's super cool. So, are either of you very far in Fantasian?
No, I played just a tiny bit.
Okay. So in Fantasian, once you get to a certain spot, you unlock the Dimension, which is a thing where it takes your random battles and stores them for later. But it only can hold 30 monsters, so not even 30 battles, but 30 individual monsters. And so when that fills up, you then have to face them all. But it's not like Bravely Default, where the monsters keep coming and they don't stop coming and you just do 30 battles in a row. It's a huge unfair fight between you and the 30 monsters. But what's cool is the battle system is designed around like interesting ways to do AoE. So like what's her face like can bend her spells to like go around defenses and stuff like that, and the guy has a slash that penetrates or whatever. So when you have 30 monsters on there, if you're really good at your AoEs and doing fun combos and stuff, the 30 isn't even big, so you can take out like 4 or 5 a turn or whatever, and it's a shitload of fun and makes me think that most games should steal this to keep random battles being a good, important, fun thing to RPGs, but also let you kind of have control over them without without being monsters on the field that you can skip all of or turning them off completely, like in Bravely Default. And this is kind of a mix, and it's real good and real fun. And I got to the main bad guy's reveal, and he's cool looking and terrifying, and he whoops your ass like Vile in Mega Man X. So good, so fast, and it rules, and I can't wait to rub his ugly face in the ground towards the end.
Speaking of games where a bad guy kicks your ass, and then you survive for some reason and continue on.
Mm-hmm.
The Legend of Hero Trails in the Sky, second chapter.
Hell yeah.
That's not where I thought that was going. I like to go.
I mean, it's happened, including this week, it's happened twice so far.
Yeah. So let's listen to some music. I think we got like a third battle track this week. Sounded like it, at least. I don't know. If I already played the battle track, we'll do something else, and then we'll talk about the plot. right, take it away, Matthias.
Oh, that was weird. Okay. I caught myself pausing to wait because I play online Magic with a guy named Matthias. All right, I won't talk, but now I will. All right, new chapter. We open discussing whether or not we're ready to leave. Wow, I just smash cut in there. All right. We aren't, because this is the Trails game, and there's always some Wisconsin goodbying to do.
Oh, yeah.
So we wander over to see Dorothy, but instead we see Niall, and we talk with him for 1 million years. Everyone dies, end of game. Or as long as it's catching up to the entire important part of last chapter.
You can... So I read that scene. Also, you did skip over the part with Beau Blanc and Father Kevin. But since we're on the subject of Dorothy, I must have misunderstood, because I thought, like, oh, we should go see Dorothy, when they talk about how the kids aren't there, so we don't need to go talk to the kids, and then the kids show up later. I thought they also said that Dorothy wasn't there, so I did not talk to Niall whatsoever.
No, they say to go talk to Dorothy, which you don't have to, but you go and Dorothy is asleep, so you talk to Niall instead.
Okay. But
it's like a really silly conversation, because he's asking you as if he's doing reporter stuff. But then at the end, you're like, oh, I can't write an article about this because the army and the guild asked me not to.
He just wants to know. Just a little gossip.
He just wants to know. And then there is a pretty funny scene there at the end where, like, Dorothy's doing the very anime sleep talk to let you know that she's still alive and still there, but that's it.
Cute. But yeah, do you have notes for the Beau Blanc thing?
I absolutely don't have notes for the Blue Blanc thing.
Okay, I played it 2 hours ago. So,
okay.
So you come up from the save point, and Beau Blanc is on top of one of the roofs in Ruin, like looking out, being all anime and shit, being like, "Oh, how like." Crazy shit is going on, and things are getting so interesting. And then Lawrence shows up, who he was the guy from last time, the gray hair, red. He used to have a red goggles in the first game, and he's like, oh, like, how did it go? What are you up to? Blah, 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 blah. I'm evil. You're evil. We're on the same team, sort of thing. And Beau Blanc is like talking about how like unimportant we are, but he has a rival in Olivier. And Lawrence is like, shut up. I don't fucking care about that. You're insufferable, but things are going to plan according to plan, etc. And they're like, as long as the little mouse over here plays their part correctly, or whatever, and you hear someone like it off screen be like, oh shit, and so they like hands on their blade, like go to look and investigate, and the ravens are coming home like drunk as hell, and they're like, oh, okay, never mind, the mouse can live now, etc. And they skedaddle, and then the ravens stumble into their hideout, and the camera pans, and like hiding nearby was Father Kevin, and he was like, oh, that was so close, like I nearly got my ass kicked, I almost got found out, but now I know that Ouroboros is on the move, etc., and these guys are part of it, and I'm up to something to stop them, but I'm not sharing it with the party yet. And then it fades to the aforementioned scene in Ruin.
Nope, you're right. I was just flipping back to my notes from last week because like that feels like something I would have put in last week's notes, but I also didn't put it in last week's notes. So thank you.
Yeah. It felt like an important scene, but everyone was talking about things that they're not sharing with us yet. It was all just like, Lawrence is up to something, and so is Father Kevin, and we don't know what those somethings are yet.
Everybody's scheming.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, anyway, we are interrupted. So when you go see, all right, I gotta get
Niall?
myself back on track. Yeah, after you finish talking with Niall, you get interrupted by Hirio. I would always read this guy's name as Hero, so that's how I'm gonna read it out. He comes around asking for help at Norman's election office, and we say yes because Estelle couldn't say no if it was written on the back of her hand. Norman is there with another person, and we walk in and casually discuss one of his campaigners being attacked. All of this is significantly less important, but I was taking notes as I was going. The long and the short of it is it's very much a Poirot episode where this guy Dells is done a violence in the back of his head, and they're blaming it on a guy named Cooper. But it turns out it was an accident, and everyone's okay.
Yeah, I did none of that. That's crazy that it was that involved of a optional thing.
It's a whole big side quest.
Yeah. I did not realize it wasn't a side quest because I didn't realize going to talk to Dorothy was optional. So anyway, It was kind of fun, but it seemed like it may have been more important than it was going to be because it was tied in with one of the politicians for the election for mayor.
Yeah.
And it actually took a while, but so we wrapped that up. Nope. Skipping too far ahead. Okay, so we talked to some... in the midst of this, Niall actually gives us a hard time I thought you were leaving. I'm like, yeah, we were, Niall, shut up. But now we have a side quest instead.
This week is definitely becoming a Kiseki game that they're famous for. Because we mentioned last week, like, oh, this chapter is obviously going to start with our tutor being too busy to continue and they have to leave because they obviously aren't going to do the entire game with different scenes depending on who you picked at the very beginning. And yet I still have Shara in my team and I still don't have Agate in my team. And we are in another chapter forward. This is where their famous density is. Like in the first game, most of the density was like NPCs would change dialogue, but as you're playing the game, it didn't feel any different for anyone. But already here in chapter 2, it's like, oh, well, my game is way different than y'all's because I have Shara, and there's this whole other like seamlessly woven in side quest that felt like a main quest that you could still technically skip and stuff. And that's cool.
Yeah. I don't know how you would skip it other than just going straight to the port.
Airship,
Airship. Bernard, did you end up skipping it or did you do this side quest?
I did this side quest.
Okay.
I'm very glad I was following a guide for it because it probably would have taken 5,000 hours to do it otherwise.
Yup. Mm-hmm. It sure does take a long time if you're not following a guide.
I mean, it took a dang while following a guide, so...
Yeah, it is very much like somebody is a fan of them old school BBC crime shows, especially the silly, lighthearted ones.
Mm.
Because there is lots of talking and lots of like very of that era kind of. Well, you better answer my questions. Well, okay, this time I'll tell you what really happened. Oh wait, no, this third time I'll tell you what really happened.
Yeah, I doubled my save last week before the side quest point of no return because I was planning on going back and doing all the side quests, and then this week I forgot that I hadn't played until like yesterday when I was getting ready for like, oh, I have to record tomorrow, like let me make sure everything's in order, and I hadn't even touched the game. So I don't know if I will still go back and play everything, but the fact that there's all this juicy side content is making me really want to go back.
Yeah, it's in retrospect it is very good, but like from a note-taking perspective, it was very confusing.
Yeah.
Anyway, the long and the short of it is that we find out that it is Norman's son, Belden, while in the process of attempting to clean out his father's campaign office, accidentally bonks Dell, the victim, in the back of the head with the door. And he's too ashamed to admit it. So he runs away.
This is one of the people that had witnessed the ghost before, that had been established as a fuck-up kid who brings shame to the family.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but like you actually get to see him. Like it's not intentional. It's not because he's a bad kid. Like he tries real damn hard, and I can give him props for that much at least.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, at this juncture, my guide said that there was more quests you could do, which I didn't bother to. Yep, that's what my note says.
Dope.
So we get to the air scene, we get to the airport, and we get a nice scene of the matron bringing the kids to say goodbye, which is nice because we specifically mentioned previously that we wanted to see them, but we were just going to send them a letter. No letter though, and off we go to Zace. We get some not filler. I went with calling it fleshed out stuff on the airship. That seemed fun but unimportant at the moment, but clearly I have no idea what is and isn't important.
Yeah, this was just a Legend of Dragoon style, like, talk to all of your party members and just get to know them as people little section.
Yeah.
No one said anything super important, except for the weird thing that Sieg flies at 1,800 Selg an hour. I have no idea what a Selg is, but it always feels like several feet. So it's always like when you see a sign, it's like, oh, the town is 500 Selg away. So it's like, okay, well, it's kind of a ways away. So maybe that's like a Selg is 3 or 4 feet. But even then, like that's real fucking fast for a bird to fly.
Maybe it's like based on the speeds of actual like raptors, but the thing is their top speed is actually when they're diving.
Maybe
they looked up top speed of this kind of bird and converted it to Selg, but didn't account for the fact that that's only under very specific conditions that they can go that fast.
Yeah,
it's like one of those that guy that wrote that book with old dies, and he accidentally used Legend of Zelda Guide as a reference.
Yes.
Anyway, there was some fine stuff there. I don't write down anything specific. So, we land and we make our way to talk to Kilika, but it is immediately interrupted by an earthquake. Nothing is damaged, so it's probably definitely not important. Stop asking. We get to the guild and do the greetings. There are some posted jobs, but we get a guild to investigate the earthquake that I was promised wasn't important. I have been betrayed. we find out that it's particularly weird because another earthquake happened just a few days ago at Wolf Fort that was specifically centralized in Wolf Fort. I think they want you to understand that earthquakes aren't like a centralized thing. I grew up in Wisconsin, and I've never in my life felt an earthquake, so I did not understand this until it was explained to me. We head over to the workshop to see Russell and Tita, who are busy cleaning up from one of the earthquakes. It did not specify. I'm assuming it is the most recent one. We talk with them about what's going on. In particular, the weird projector from the last section and the black orbment. He explains some kind of complicated stuff about the orbment that I didn't quite understand, I don't think.
Yeah, it's all made up anyways.
Yeah, it's all made up anyways. I was going to try and explain it, but nah. Russell then informs us he can help with the earthquake, but we should go to Wolf Fort first because he's an old man and they're known to futz about when setting stuff up. There are some board quests my guide recommends doing along the way.
I didn't even... So the first game, when I was skipping through my side quests because I was just going to look at all the side quests on the Let's Play when writing my notes, I would go over to the board, pretend to say hello, accept these quests, just so if I happen to accidentally do one, I would get the extra bonuses. This week, I didn't even look at the board, so I have no idea if there are any good quests there whatsoever.
I just do the monster hunting quests. Pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's it. In the first game, I was still coming off of Trails of Cold Steel, which handles its quests the exact same, but in universe it feels more important for some reason. So I was trying everything I could to get all those quests done, but now it's just that, and I am uneasy. And I'm already a flesh mower, so shrug.
Okay, so according to the Kiseki wiki, a selg is approximately 100 meters. So 1800 selg would be 180,000 meters, which would be 590,000 feet, which is 111 or 112-ish miles an hour. And I was like, that's ridiculous. What's the speed of a peregrine falcon? It's 240 miles an hour. So yeah, maybe it's not as obnoxiously fast as it seemed, but it's 1800 is just a really big number to be anything an hour to make it seem like it makes any sense, but it's actually not that bad compared to the real world.
Birds, man.
How do they work?
Birds are weird.
Birds aren't real.
Bernard, I need you to start a Twitter account that's just one of those crazy conspiracy theory accounts, but it's just birds aren't real.
I'm pretty sure birds aren't real as an actual fake conspiracy theory.
Oh, never mind. Now I hate it. Burn it in fire.
But I just did look up on the Wikipedia page for list of birds by flight speed, and the peregrine falcon's top speed is 240 miles an hour, but their maximum horizontal speed is only 68 miles an hour. So Sieg is still a little ridiculous. But
see, that's what I was saying. Horizontal speed.
Yeah.
Unless maybe he's going down and up in Super Mario World with the cape.
Yeah, he's got the
speed that way.
It's just a steep rise, and then everywhere he's going is down from there.
Yeah, he got a feather and turned it into a cape, and now he does that, and that's how he goes real fast. But sorry for the interruption. I had to math real quick because it was blowing my mind.
I dig it. I was gonna look it up after we're recording. Knowing it now, will probably let me focus a little bit. Probably not. Anyway, so through the process of doing some of these quests, because I have a difficult time differentiating sometimes what some of the board quests are and what the main quest is. Which is just, I think that's just always true for me in the Trails games, unless I actually read what the board quests are.
Yeah,
usually I don't.
You'll just stumble in somewhere and unlock a cutscene, and who knows what cutscene it's related to.
Exactly. But we end up picking up some tidbits about during and around the earthquake at the fort. We get a description of an Agent Smith-looking dude. And
who ended up not looking at all Agent Smith-like I was expecting.
Right? I was immediately expecting okay, because sometimes they lift stuff from movies. This is kind of what that character looked like. I will get to that later because I was not expecting the love child of every Turk from Final Fantasy VII.
That's exactly what I thought too.
Autocorrect. Okay. We make the assumption that he is an Ouroboros agent. Autocorrect turned that into Borigarigmos agent.
Borigarigmos.
Which is a magic card. All right.
So one thing I found amusing about this guy is that immediately he's described as wearing sunglasses, and Estelle's like, what the fuck are sunglasses? And I'm like, this world has telephones. How are sunglasses a new thing? But I just looked it up, and the patent for the first telephone was in 1876, and the first modern sunglasses were in 1899, so telephones predate sunglasses.
Wild.
Of course, there was eyewear intended for reducing sun exposure before that, but the first proper UV shielding glasses made with tinted lenses was as far as we know 1899. So yeah, sunglasses can reasonably be a new thing in this world.
What wasn't the first motion picture tests in 1896? So we were beginning to shoot film before we thought maybe we should cover our eyes with some dark glass and not burn our eyeballs out. It just seems like sunglasses would be a super old thing that we would have cracked the code for before fucking film and this crazy complicated bullshit.
Because I think tinted glass was being used for storing liquids and stuff before that, but I don't know. That Wikipedia says the first sunglasses manufactured with tinted lenses to block UV light, not just glare, was 1899.
Okay, I was gonna say, because I know in the Civil War they used sharpshooters would use these cockamamie tinted. I'll share a picture. They're sunglasses, except there's holes. You can see kind of holes in the middle where you're supposed to look normally out of. But those wouldn't protect from UV. It would just be specifically glare. Oh, look at that. The picture I found was from the Texas State History Museum. Anyway.
Weird.
Oh, interesting.
Science is weird.
We are making really bad time today.
We really are.
I'm not complaining. I can be here all night. But
yeah, we are. It's funny. We're doing good at like avoiding the game related tangents, but we're just replacing them with Civil War sniper wear tangents.
Okay, you're right. All right, focus in. Me. Anyway, after we do the fort and do some side questing, we head back to the workshop and get sent around to set up some devices. They are seismometers. I could not spell that word, so I wrote some devices what monitor earthquakes and such.
Yeah.
I want to say this is a first, but it felt like the first time where we actually got control over who's in our party.
It's the first time in the series, besides the final boss fight or the final dungeon of last game, and it's real cool. So
I was like, "Whoa! I get to tell Olivia to fuck off." Awesome.
Yeah, I did too, because getting that clutch party heal with Chloe is too good, and because functionally, even though Olivier is the best caster in the game, he's functionally the same as Tita with the ranged weapon and everything. So it felt like the smart move.
All three of us booted Olivier.
Yeah. Fuck that guy.
Rip. Anyway, my guide said there were some additional side quests here to do. I did one of them and then immediately stopped because it was my least favorite anime cliche of like visiting the hot springs and somebody's peeping over it. Oh, this is.
They did that last game. Why did they have to do it again?
Exactly. Like, I didn't like it the first time. I will give them this. There is a little funny jab about Agate and his headband. Because he doesn't take it off right away when he goes into the hot springs, and they're like, "Do you ever take it off?" He's like, "Yes, I take it off sometimes."
So, you mentioning Agate just now made me realize. So, last week we dealt with Agate's gang, and this week we dealt with his surrogate daughter.
And?
Like this week, it's like, what does Shara get? Like, will Shara stay in my party, and next week we do something cool and important about her? But it like all of these scenes where it feels like it would be important to have Agate, I don't have him, and it's weird.
And Turkenstein is like his senpai, like literally.
Who?
No, that's
Walter.
That's Zane's senpai, not Agate's.
Oh, right, that's right. I get them confused because I'm tired and old.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff with Agate and Tito this week, so yeah, I haven't thought of that, but
yeah, I got a cute scene with them when, because getting back on track, actually, instead of just being a tangent, one of the seismometers we place, when you do it in the tunnel, Agate and Annalise show up, and so Tita has a thing like, "Oh my god, I didn't know Agate could even have a girlfriend," and it's like a cute little scene there. So I got like a little bit of it, and that scene is what reminded me. I was like, oh yeah, this is twice in a week, 2 chapters in a row where we've done stuff where it seems like Agate is the canon choice, but I'm not mad because Shara fucking magics like a truck and came in real handy on the boss of this week because they only have low magic defense. Everything else takes forever to fucking hurt them at all.
I hope that they explained that Annalise is not Agate's girlfriend.
Oh yeah,
She is Estelle's girlfriend.
Do they
Yeah.
still have like
She
the
is
kind of
my girlfriend in real life.
we got like a kind of creepy scene with Annalise where like she's just immediately invading a small child's personal space.
Yeah, I didn't get any of that.
And
It's a little weird.
it is unsettling.
Yeah, I didn't get that. She just shows up with Agate and is like, "Oh my God, she's so cute," yada yada yada, and he's just like, "Oh hey, what's up?" And then as they leave to go about their merry way, at the end of the scene, he just like, "Wow, I didn't know he had a girlfriend," blah 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 blah, stuff like that. So there was no soiling of Annalise's name.
I mean, that's one of the next parts coming up, so we can just. That's one of the placements. The other one is just out in the field. There's a fight attached to it. That's it.
Yeah, so
sheep.
One thing that's kind of cool about this part is last game, none of us did it, but the Let's Play did. Is you can go to Wolf Fort and the Stone Circle, but they're not important and no one comments on them, and there's not even like side quests there. Technically, one of the books of Carnelia is there if you go all the way back out to Wolf Fort before you leave Zeiss at the beginning of whatever the chapter after that is. But like other than that, they're just unused locations that are just there because the world is fully realized, and we go to both of them this week, and
that
I thought it was
really
cool.
The other one, and arguably the most important one, is by the fort, where we find out that that's where Papa Cassius is.
Yeah, different fort. This is Zeiston Fortress, not Wolf Fort.
Yes, Zeiston.
Yeah, there's a cute bit where we're like, oh wow, this looks so much different in the daytime. Last time we had to break in, and Chloe's like, as princess, I think I probably shouldn't be listening when you talk about breaking into a government facility, but I'll let it slide for now.
Yeah, and what's his name is real pissed about it. Still real pissed about it. But we find out he's there in his capacity as working for the military. It's a nice little scene. At this point, I did a side quest. No, I just went up a dungeon and discovered petrification.
Oh, it's nasty.
And I hated that.
Mm-hmm.
And I also didn't read what an accessory did, which could have made it a lot easier. But reading's for nerds, so it sat in my bag.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's running into Sharon. We actually talked about them in inverse order that I wrote them, and then there's a page jump. There we go. So we plant the last antenna and seismometer and head back to the workshop. Russell is happy with the work we did and tells us, well, you should head out because it might take a while to get the readings. But fuck that. This is anime.
Yep.
Yeah, so we get an earthquake basically immediately, right under Leiston Fortress. You know, where Dad is.
She dies.
Yeah,
he dies. End of movie.
I really thought this was going to be like a thing and we would have to go over it because I knew like they're going to squeeze in the new map somewhere so that we'll have a new dungeon to explore, and I wonder where it'll be. And it's like, oh, shit's happening at Leiston Fortress. I'm like, okay, we're going to go there. It's going to be like tore up. There will be like a crack in the ground and we'll go into the cave or whatever. But no, we immediately get a phone call that everyone's okay and there's nothing wrong at all with the fortress. And it's like, okay.
Yep, the way this was portrayed, I immediately thought, oh, okay, so this isn't an Ouroboros situation. This is the military's doing something weird to counter Ouroboros and doesn't realize they're messing stuff up.
Mm.
And then it I had that thought for 30 seconds until it smashes to Cassius, who's like, no. I big-brained this whole situation and knew they were immediately going to cause the earthquake here, so I prepared for it. So
He told everyone to sort of take a wide stance.
Yeah. Shelter in place.
Yeah, shelter in place. Press on these walls so they don't give in. It'll be great. We learned that the process of causing the earthquakes is by controlling septum veins. And it's literally weaponized earthquakes, which everyone is terrified by, which means they haven't played Pokemon. We thought we would be on there's a brief second where we're like, okay, well now what do we do? And Estelle immediately chimes in, hey buddy, can you just track where it came from? And Russell's like, yeah man, I can do that.
Yeah, it's weird that wasn't his plan from the whole time, because he got 3 of them to triangulate the location, but it wasn't his idea to triangulate.
My favorite part is that it was Estelle's idea.
Of course.
I love that.
She's the smart dumbass. That's her shtick.
I like how she went to school at the beginning of this game and got smart, and now she's not a total dumbass anymore.
Yeah.
Anyway, we find out that it is coming from Elmo Village. For some reason, I headed back to Zeiss to talk to Kilika and then headed off to Elmo. I don't know if that's absolutely necessary, because I trust nothing in this game now after dealing with Norman and Belbin.
Yeah, it's not necessary. That's just what the characters were about to do when the earthquake happened. They're like, "Oh, we'll go and turn in at the guild." So,
and it's on the way. So
yeah,
gotcha. That makes sense. So we run into Mrs. Mao, who is the quest giver from the inn that we previously discussed with my least favorite anime cliche. And she, we do the talking, do some walking. She shows us a boiling over hot spring.
Mm.
That sure is weird and probably related to our earthquake situation.
Yeah, because hot springs are hot, but not usually boiling. It's a little too hot.
Kind of suspicious. So we head to a water dungeon that is also a fire dungeon, which I got a pretty good kick out of, actually. I was very tired, and I laughed for a solid 5 minutes about it.
So I did not engage with the mechanics here, because you're like the stuff, there's like geysers everywhere that will go off, and you have to like wait for the pattern and walk through. But the amount of hurt that they do per second is not super big, so I just ran for it. And right before the final boss of the area, there's a hot spring that's not too hot, and you can get inside of it, and it heals your HP, your MP, and your CP, which is nuts.
Yeah,
and
I was like, what the fuck? This is good water.
It is rad as hell.
Yeah, so I just beelined it through and did not even try and do anything with mechanics.
I spent so much effort being a pro gamer and not hitting anything. I'm pissed off now.
Yeah, I was doing like 1 HP per tick.
I was worried it was going to be like instant game over.
I was in the middle because I was sure kind of trying, but I am historically bad at these sorts of things. So, meh.
I was just thinking about how miserable going through that dungeon would be.
Like in the real world?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's already like the air is boiling hot, and then there's boiling hot water just flinging around at you everywhere.
Yeah.
I feel like it would be like going to an indoor water park during the summer. Like, you can feel the humid inside, right? And if you get a little too close to the walls, you could feel the humid outside.
Yeah. Me and Bernard are from the South, where why would you ever have an indoor water park when it's 1,000 degrees outside? So cannot relate to that idea.
Because nobody wants to go to a water. A, there's snow on the ground 7 months out of the year, and sometimes in January you want to ride on a water slide. Don't worry about it; it's fine.
Yeah, I'm excited for the first snow to come next month.
Don't remind me. I'm not ready. I need a snowblower. Anyway.
Luckily, we never get snow where I am.
Absolutely never.
Oh, another tangent, because that's the name of the fucking game this week. So, last night, last night we get a tornado of alerts where you go down to the basement, and so I'm like looking at the weather. Not only did we have a tornado alert, Wisconsin was on a heat advisory because we had the scorchingly hot temperatures of 86 degrees Fahrenheit. AKA the, wow, it's actually not that hot today. Do you guys want to hang out outside because it feels nice? Weather was scorchingly hot, heat advisory. Everybody stay inside.
And
weather,
let me tell you why. There are a huge number of elderly and like 50 plus people whose only source of air conditioning is ceiling fans.
Yeah.
And they don't turn them on because they're expensive.
Yeah.
So the government has to tell people, please turn on your air conditioning and ceiling fans. We don't want to have to haul you out of your house in 3 weeks.
Yeah. So me and Summer are like beginning to start shopping for a house because we're hoping to buy one when our lease is up next August. And so many of these like dream homes were like, oh my God, this is perfect. Everything would be great. And we're like, look in the section on air conditioning, and it's like ceiling fans in 3 of 10 rooms. And it's like, this should be illegal. Like, how can you not have central air in 2021?
You know, even if you're living somewhere where the summers aren't too bad, once you've lived with central air, you can't go without.
Yeah.
Not once in my life have I lived in a place with central air. Everything has either been like an in-unit box fan or ceiling fans.
Yeah.
And I've lived in a lot of places.
That's bizarre to me. And it's definitely one of the weirder things to get used to up here is that people just crack open a window instead of forcing cold air on themselves.
It's why, hot take, Texans are actually not that good at dealing with heat.
Yes.
In my opinion, because anytime they're indoors, they have air conditioning because every home has central air here, because if it didn't, people would die.
Yeah.
So Texans are not actually particularly good at dealing with heat. Hot take.
Yeah.
Now that has me curious, who in this country are best at dealing with heat? Which is the weirdest question I've asked myself in the last hour.
I feel like the Arizonas and the New Mexicos and the Nevadas of the world were probably okay at it. But they also probably have AC everywhere. But it feels like like Texas hides from the heat, and I feel like I see in media, because media is real. I see people who live out in the desert like being more one with the fact that it's 100 degrees outside.
I'm gonna put my money on like Colorado. That's where I'm putting, like, somewhere. I don't know any of the places in Colorado, but somewhere over there. That's where my money is. Or, like, somewhere weird, like Connecticut. Or, like, there's water off the ocean. It's fine.
Yeah. Who knows?
Who
Anywho.
knows? Anywho, this is where we run into, at the end of this dungeon, is where we run into this horrifying amalgamation of the Turks from Final Fantasy VII. His name is Walter the Direwolf, and boy howdy, do I feel bad for Walter.
I like how they gave Zid and Kilika names that sound vaguely exotic and non-European because they're from the eastern country of Calvard. And then we have Walter, who was apparently their classmate.
He's just Walter, somebody's weird uncle who works at the gas station down the road.
That reminds me, speaking of Calvard, did y'all get more talk about Crossbell this week?
No, was there news?
Yeah, so new Crossbell. I don't remember if it was when we first get there or towards the end, but it's when they're talking about how, like, really only Liberal uses airships. In Erebonia, everything's on trains, and then they say, and in Crossbell, everyone uses buses because Crossbell is like a city state, and everything is more like modern-y cities type stuff. And it's probably added stuff for the evolution versions because these came out after the Crossbell games, and so they probably were tying it in more. But I just, because y'all didn't have the mention of it last time, I wondered if y'all had it this time.
No, and I didn't encounter that dialogue in the PC version.
Okay.
Or at least didn't remember it.
I remember it vaguely, but I do not know if I remember it from when I was playing the game or using the LP to make my notes.
Okay.
There is a section coming up that makes me believe that it is from the game itself, because there's a few of proper nouns of factories and companies that I'm like, I recognize those from a different game.
Mm.
But I also wasn't talking to very many people this playthrough. Dimitri was being a poop while I was trying to play. Anyway, poor Walter is the cause of said localized earthquakes because he has a magic stick what could mess with septum veins, and if you plug a gospel into it, then it can cause said earthquake. And it's all cooked up by, good God, autocorrect, the upper brass of the Ouroboros faction, which was auto-corrected to Aurora Borealis. Why wasn't it the same? Come on, autocorrect.
Gotta love it.
We find out that Walter wanted us to come do some fighting down under the ground, so he made it easy for us to find him. Weird flex, but okay. The boss fight here is these giant worms, which is the first time since starting easy I struggled with. I did not keep up with the guide because I thought I didn't need it, but each time you attack one of the worms, it does a pretty decent AoE attack. But if you AoE the worms, they will all do it. And it doesn't matter how much stronger you are than said worms, they'll wipe your party right out.
Yeah, it was rough.
It's a tough battle. You gotta take out the worms one by one, but there's a lot of them. And also one of your party members has an area attack as her basic attack, which might be a problem sometimes.
Yeah. I died on it after doing pretty okay. So then I let it restart me with it being easier, and it still nearly got me.
My notes say I died 3 times to it. The first time because I was not understanding that it was me triggering the AoE attacks. The second time just failing. And the third time I hit the rhythm and was fine. So we beat them. He taunts us because we aren't nearly as good as he was told we were. And then he laser fists us all in the gut simultaneously.
Which is pretty cool.
It actually was pretty cool. It looked like, it very much so reminded me of the Dragon Ball Z Legend of Goku game for the Game Boy Advance, where you just throw the Kai bolts.
Mm-hmm.
It's very much a similar sprite, and I like that because I like that game.
Yeah, he beats the shit out of us.
Yep, like immediately. And he's mad about that too because he thought we would be stronger, which is fine until he starts talking about hunting for Joshua. Estelle stands up like she's going to throw down, but Olivier and Zane show up. Obviously, Zane and Walter know each other because there's only 40 people on this whole continent.
Mm-hmm.
They throw some punches and Walter runs away.
Yeah, there's only 40 people on this continent, and 38 of them join your party in Tales of Cold Steel 4.
Yep. Well, 2 of them aren't born yet. Anyway, we thank Zane and ask about Walter, and he gets all cryptic on us, so we head back to the guild where we can be slightly less cryptic. Apparently Kilika also thought it might be Walter, and saw fit either warn us or Zane. And it's at this point that I'm wondering if maybe Kilika might be not great at the dissemination of information part of the whole guild doing job, but that's okay. She's cool. We get the rundown about Zane, Kilika, and Walter, that they were students together, and Zane and Kilika both surmise that Walter is the master of the Tato style that both Zane and Kilika use, which is actually some scary shit because Zane hits like a house of houses.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Tato is a British potato chip brand, and
it's also the publisher of Lufia 1 and 2.
Well, you should look up the Tato mascot. It's a horrifying potato monster. After we are scared by how much stronger Walter is than Zane.
More important than Lufia, Taito did make a little game called Space Invaders.
Yeah, there's that.
Excuse me.
I kind of think that's more of a touchstone than Lufia.
It's true.
Anyway, go on. I'm sorry. I was just looking up. I was like, I'm pretty sure Taito's made something more culturally significant than Lufia.
Yeah.
So I just had to confirm that, yes, it was Space Invaders.
Anyway.
Sorry.
So in the cleanup process of dealing with the messed up stuff that Walter did to the water fire dungeon, they say some proper nouns over at the factory for companies that make me happy for spoiler reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And then
they basically say the equivalent of the Zeiss Central Factory for each of the relevant places.
Yep.
That we'll go to.
And one of them in particular is, well, I'll get to it later. We then find out there is a request for aid from the capital. So that's where we're heading next.
They asked for us by name.
Yeah, we're all fancy pants. People know who we are. Uh, our party gets bigger permanently since Tita and Zane decide to sign up. There's a really nice scene where Agate's like trying to be delicate about telling Tita maybe it's not a good idea. And then everyone's like, "Ha ha, you're being nice to the kid," and he's like, "Meh, I don't know how to process feelings."
Yeah, I didn't get any of that. She asked if she could come, and Estelle was like, I don't know, is it going to be safe? And then we're like, well, Ouroboros is trying to kill everyone, so is anywhere safe? And she's like, well, I guess that means she would be safest with us because we can protect her from Ouroboros. So really, we're doing you a favor if you come and join us. And it was really cute.
Yeah, that's
Agate and company go through basically the same line of logic. Although I still feel like Professor Russell is a little quick to agree to this. I kind of feel like maybe he's not a great guardian.
I'm starting to be convinced that, like, parenting is not a profession that has been mastered in this world. You know, there's no books on it yet. Not really. Everyone's just picking the middle option every time.
Yeah. And the best parent that we have, Cassius, still is never home for his kiddos.
Yeah,
So.
Cassius is like the middling dad for everybody, which kind of nails it, but also like, yeah.
We do have Zin, who is a daddy.
Yeah. Who needs dads when you have a daddy? But I do believe that is where it cuts for the week.
Yeah, that's after this when it fades to black, and that's it.
So let's listen to something, and then we'll talk about our memorable moments. Alright, so I only took one screenshot this week, and it was the, I don't know if you guys got cool new art for everyone for your party selection screen, but I did, and it made me really happy.
Mm-hmm.
It's like everyone, it's their like chibi field sprite models, but they're all like doing something cool and different for their poses, and I thought it was great because it's also way bigger than it normally is, so you got to see like a lot more detail on those models, which I really liked.
Yeah, I liked that.
But
yeah, it's pretty great.
Other than that, I enjoyed all of it because I played all of it just now. So what do you guys got?
I don't really like the structure of this installment so far.
Yeah.
Compared to the last game, it felt very natural how we were going to these different scenarios, having a scenario of the week, episodic adventure that would naturally tie into an overall story in a really impressive way. But here it's just sort of like we go somewhere, something stupid is happening, and we figure it out, and wouldn't you know it, it's an Ouroboros guy just doing something ridiculous, and then he doesn't kill us for no good reason, and then he runs off. And I kind of get the impression that's how the next couple chapters or so is going to go.
Yeah.
And I'm not as impressed by it, and I probably wouldn't be so disappointed by it if I wasn't so impressed by the structure of the last game.
Yeah. I I feel things will probably shake up because there are only 5 cities and there are 9 chapters to this game. So we can't, like, this structure will run out in 2 more chapters and we have a bunch more to go. So I'm hoping that it changes up and still is super great and everything, but we'll have to see how it shakes down. I felt the same way where I was like I could feel the cadence of this chapter as it was happening because I did last week's chapter. Like last week, you literally investigated 3 places, and when you did all of those, the plot lets you continue to go and find the new dungeon and face the Ouroboros guy at the end. And that's exactly what we did this week. And who knows, maybe maybe this is them establishing a pattern, and next week they'll break the pattern and it'll be better. But it's
maybe next week we'll go investigate something stupid and it turns out it's completely unrelated to Ouroboros and they do some fucked up shit while we're not looking.
Yeah, that would be
cool. And it's bad. Yeah.
That's what I was expecting this week to be. I think the core of the thing I'm struggling with this particular installment is it feels like half victory lap, but half real game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm sure other JRPGs do it, but the one I'm predominantly thinking of is Dragon Quest.
Yeah.
There's like story bits at the end of the game where you go back to all the cities and you see all the people you help and all that. You know, you get the warm fuzzies and then credits roll and you're happy. It almost feels like that's part of what's going on and it's causing a little bit of a dissonance for me.
Yeah.
But I say that, but my memom is like the reunion of Estelle and Company with Tato.
With Tita?
Tita. Yep, now I just cannot say Tato. With Tita, because like you kind of forget that she's still a child in the first game. Like she's, you know, the kind of common thing in some media is the prodigy that's, you know, oh, I'm 14, but I graduated MIT and I'm the smartest kid that's ever lived.
Mm-hmm.
And the most believable instances are when you're reminded that, okay, yeah, they're that smart, but they're also still have the emotional capacity of a child.
Mm-hmm.
And she, like, breaks down. She's like, I never thought I'd see, you know, being sad that she never thought she'd see Estelle again because Joshua left. And then she wasn't in the country and she didn't understand, like, that emotional, sociological thing that happened there. I thought that was really great. I thought that was a good little scene.
Mm-hmm. One thing I did like about this week is that I don't remember this being so much the case when she joined the party last game, but in this game, she joins the party at a significantly lower level and has a lot less HP and defense than everyone else. So, for a while at least, it does sort of feel like you're having to take care of her.
Mm-hmm.
Mechanically, it just feels like, yeah, you have a kid with you and you have to keep in mind keeping the kid out of danger.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of mechanical things that I liked this week is I got my first of the new Orbital arts this week, and I got Plasma Wave, which is a line attack. So you line up your line, and notably, it is area of effect and not a pick a opponent and you do a line through it like all the ones you had last time. So it's like you get to pick line exactly where you want your thingy to be, and it doesn't have to pass through the middle of one of them. And it was real cool, and I was missing that a lot last game, where like they would be just far enough apart where I couldn't get the three of them in a line, but if I were able to just put it down the middle of them, I would hit all of them. And now I get to do stuff like that, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, the old line attacks are like barely functional as hitting multiple enemies because they're very narrow.
I that is definitely from something from this game that I like better than the first game. Like you can kind of see that they're starting to experiment a little bit with the combat system and some of the arts in a way that the first game just kind of, it felt like it didn't get to that point.
Yeah.
Like you know, there were a couple of interesting fights, but you would go through long stretches of just not having to think about combat. It's like, okay, I'm just going to hit him as hard as I can and move on. And I think, depending on how the third game and the Crossbell games feel, this probably is where that starts. Because having played
Cold Steel.
Cold Steel. I was going to try and say the fancy version. But having played Cold Steel, that's where several instances of combat already start. You know, where you actually have to, okay, these guys are way faster than me and I'm just going to lose via attrition. I need to slow them down and speed me up before I can actually... And that's rudimentary, sure, but that's the first game in a trilogy. So it's actually really cool to see like the beginning of the foundation of that in this grand trilogy here in this game.
Yeah, I had said that this battle system was my favorite JRPG battle system, having only played the first game. But now seeing all the new cooler stuff they're doing with it, now I can only imagine it being like cream of the damn crop by the time we get through Cold Steel. And
I was just going to add in, I've heard that they actually, and take this for what it is, it's from a RPG website's Discord, like an RPG reviewing website's Discord, but they actually toned down and like made the combat in Trails of Cold Steel easier versus Crossbell. So
interesting.
I'm actually really excited to play Crossbell to see, like, you know, I don't want every fight to be an Octopath Traveler level. You know, this isn't an RPG, this is a puzzle you're solving.
Yeah. But
to see a lot, to see this combat system stretch like right up to its seams would be really, really cool.
Yeah, I'm also super excited for Reverie, is its new English word, artist formerly known as Hajimari no Kiseki, where they Final Fantasy VII remake it, where you're going around doing action combat, but at any second you can pause it like a KOTOR and tell your team to go and do the things, and it's the Trails battle system, but just like the camera shifts, and then you have like the commands you tell them to do is as if you were planning out their turns in this battle system, but for the most part you're going around and playing it like an action game, which is super cool, and I'm excited to see how that feels because it looks awesome, and it was awesome in remake, so I'm sure it'll be great. But we got like 6 years before we get there, so
I don't know, man. We're trucking through these pretty fast.
Yeah, my when I calculated it out to do all of the episodes to see if we would get the English releases of Crossbell, if we did Cold Steel first, those would have us at like the beginning of 2023 when we get to Crossbell. So we got some time. Excited for it. Any other memorable moments before we end up on another tangent and talk for another 3 hours?
A lot of my memorable moments were actually highlighted through you guys contributing through the notes, so I'm good.
All right.
I just am also finding the game very mechanically satisfying. I really have enjoyed putting my party together this week, and the battles are challenging, and it's really cool.
Oh yeah, like even when I was playing through the game the first time, through the first game, I was able to just hold down circle and X at the same time, and it just attack and speed through the entire battle for most of the trash mobs, and then I would get to an extermination or a treasure chest mob or a boss or something, and then I would have to engage with it. But I got my ass kicked every time I tried to do that this week because I was in a hurry, and I actually had to engage with the game because even the random trash mobs are like more mechanically interesting than they were last game, which is super cool.
Mm-hmm.
Because they are more mechanically interesting, but they are not Radiant Historia where you have to do a whole, like you don't have to do the entire mechanics. You just you can't just sleep through it. It feels like Persona 5 in that way. Persona 5's trash mobs were awesome, where it's like you had to figure out the puzzle and do the puzzle correctly, but that didn't take 30 minutes of your time. And I really like it. But yeah, this series would not exist without the support of our Ko-Fi backers. So shout outs to all of you for donating. If you are listening to this in the after times and you want access to approximately 2 more episodes, you can support us on our website at www.rpgbook.club, where everyone who donates gets access to these episodes a month before everyone else. They also can vote in our polls for our main series to see what game we're playing next. And there's also merch available there. Lots of cool stuff. Come and check us out at www.rpgbook.club. And there will be a link to our Discord where you can come and hear us record our main series episodes. Usually every Friday. Sometimes it gets all switchy uppy because of personal schedules and stuff. But for Book Club no Kiseki, I have been Sam Allman.
Hey, David Bernard Howe.
And Matt Jorgensen.
Adios, amigos.
It was a hell show.
Yeah, Kai's a little bald bitch, and he can get got for all I care.
They canceled him.
Good, he got.
What was wrong with Caillou?
He's a bad kid.
Yeah, he's a bad kid. He's an asshole, and he has no remorse for any of his actions.
He's really spoiled and shitty, and
there's
never a moral to the story.
Because I thought the art was weird.
The art is weird.
Yeah, like Daniel Tiger may be an asshole to his friends, but the point of the episode will be it's not okay to be an asshole to your friends, and here's how to be better. Caillou will be an asshole to his friends.
And that's
the episode. He's a shitty kid.
Well, fuck that.
Yeah.